Wake up the system, light up the mind. We're chasing the edges they say not to find. Flow like a river, fierce and precise. Lollydabbing through limits, no need to think twice. No cheat code, no shortcut plan, just grit and grace and a mic in our hand. Keri and Richard pushing past norms, dancing with dopamine, writing brainstorms. This is the art of impossible. Fueling the spark, making the improbable unstoppable. Drop into flow, where the wild things grow. Welcome to the edge of control. Lollydabbing the impossible. Curiosity's compass, purpose is fuel. Hard goals and habits, breaking old rules. Risk it, own it, bend what you know. This is the lab where peak minds grow. No easy win, no magic cue, just science and soul and something true. We're not just talking, we're breaking the mold. Lollydabbing with stories bold. This is the art of impossible. Fueling the spark, making the improbable unstoppable. Drop into flow, where the wild things grow. Welcome to the edge of control, with Keri and Richard in tow. It starts with passion, moves with grit. Stack those triggers, then commit. You're not broken, you're built to fly. So lollydab loud, reach for the sky. This is the art of impossible. Fueling the spark, making the improbable unstoppable. Drop into flow, let your mission grow. Keri and Richard know we're lollydabbing the impossible.
Please tell me this is working.
Y'all, we gotta stop cutting it so fucking close. Yeah, I'm working, you're working, we all working.
I am so glad.
I don't know
it's
if my
working.
hair's working, but it's, you know, we're here.
I just brushed mine straight the fuck back and said to hell with it. I got helmet head anyway, so yeah.
It's fine. We're here. Life is good. Life is grand.
It is.
Sometimes
you may see new background kitties.
New background kitties.
Yeah, we've got Gary and Ruby here as of today. They are brand new. Just came from Ridgefield, Washington.
Listen, a cat named Gary
is fucking dope. There is no better name for a cat than Gary, except maybe shithead or cat. It fits him. It really does.
A cat named Cat. He's a Gary kind of guy. A feline, I guess, right?
Funny stuff. Hello, Robbie. Welcome, my friend.
I know. I love it. Robbie had a bunch of messages in the chat before I was even able to get all the way in. He is our hype man. He updated the chat that Richard is having testicle difficulties and Keri is in the kitchen indisposable. So,
well, I don't know if she's in the kitchen or not. She's pretty indisposable. It's hard to dispose of her. I've tried 2 or 3 times. It's
indestructible, indisposable.
You just cannot dispose of her. It just doesn't work.
I'm like a fungus.
She keeps hard to get back. You know, like an athlete's foot, you got to keep putting the Lotrimin on it. Oh,
Right. And to be fair, Lamotrin is the best
yes, it is.
if you got the foot goo.
Uh-huh. That's all I use.
Listen, I'm a cook. I'm not a lady.
Uh,
I'm not delicate. I have had sweaty feet and rubber shoes. So you know what? Just
Sweaty
don't judge
feet and
me.
rubber shoes are a really bad combination, especially when they're underwater. I'm just saying.
I haven't worked in that swampy of kitchens before, so that's.
Uh,
But I have like
I've had
been
some
scrubbing
leaks in
kitchen
hip
floors.
waders and things like that at about the knee level. Yeah, they get really, really heavy, really, really quickly.
I bet they do.
Did you know that a gallon of water weighs 8.3 pounds?
I'm sorry, you're fungusy.
Anyway, sorry, we've digressed
much?
enough for the beginning of the show.
8 pounds.
8.3 pounds for a gallon of water. So every time you lift a gallon of water, you lift 8.3 pounds.
Well, I guess that's a good excuse not to drink the gallon of water or just be like, I just be lifting it. I just be lifting
Just
it
be
today.
lifting it. But hydrate. It's important.
Yeah, whatever.
Hey,
Whatever.
people today are happy because they hydrated.
Cool. Anyway.
Ooh, if you're looking for a water flavorer with zings, like the caffeines,
Okay. Now you got my attention.
the Crystal Light with it's called Energizer water, has caffeine in it.
You lost me with Crystal Light.
I gotta tell you, if they would put crack on it, it would be more expensive.
Well, yeah, but it's the Crystal Light. I can't do the fake sugar.
Oh, I don't. It
Give me
doesn't matter to
liberty
me.
and give me real sugars.
Well, then you're not diabetic. So
I am not yet.
If
There's a
you
chance.
were
Chance.
to become diabetic, which I fucking hope you don't.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say,
and
which I fucking hope you do.
No, which I hope you don't. You will find out that sugar is your enemy, and sugar is in everything.
Oh, it's like corn.
Everything. Yeah, corn and sugar. And most of the sugar that's in there is made from corn.
Made of corn.
So there you go. Yeah. Watch King Corn. Fascinating watch.
Oh,
Great.
yeah, no.
I highly recommend watching King Corn. It's an eye opener. If you don't know how much corn is used in our food industry, it will be an eye opener for you.
No, I really try to be corn free. Oh, Indy's here.
Hi, Indy.
And I'm springing this on you too, Richard. I am doing a show directly, like 15 minutes after we hang up here. I'm doing a show with my friend Jess. And we're eventually going to shift it over to her channel, but we're starting here to get it out there because she's doing so many other things that kind of have to get her set up in stages. But she is well, here, let me just share this.
All right.
I'll share this thumbnail. If you go to my channel, you'll see I have another live scheduled directly after this with a 15-minute bathroom break in between. I know, right? But it's really important work that she's doing, and I wanted to, I tried tagging Indy in it, and I just, listen, I am a Luddite.
The fighting crime from the top one, right?
Yep, that's the one right there.
Okay.
That's the one right there. So, I think she has actually popped on the show during one of our, at the end, when you had to go for some reason, she popped in randomly. But she's whoa.
Whee!
That is a touchy button.
Zoom. Here's the link for the show.
This is serious stuff. Thank you for sharing that link.
I can't believe I got a link out before Indy. But look I did it before Indy. That's what's weird.
Not on my screen, you didn't. I'm looking at the StreamYard one. Indy beat you. She beat you.
Okay. All right.
You
well,
betcha
fine.
she beat you.
Well, anyway, what's it about? What's it about? Tell me.
So, she is in the process of serving, and I'll have to let her, 'cause she's doing a lot of different things, so I want to make sure I don't conflate some of the things that she's told me together.
Fair enough.
But this fighting crime from the top down, I would say the broad umbrella is getting people who should not be judges, prosecutors, etc., out of their places of power, and allowing, trying to give a little bit more rights to, I really shouldn't be trying to explain this. Listen, it's about
go see the thing.
It's about our Fourth Amendment rights. She's fighting for our Fourth Amendment rights. That would be the broad spectrum. She's doing it from the top down, so meaning from prosecutors, judges, county commissioners, things of that nature.
Sounds like a good place to start.
Listen, you got to start somewhere. And then she's also fighting several other battles. But that's what the tour is about, the We Should Be Free tour. She's busy serving like as many cities as she can. So she's going to be telling us a little bit about that. She just posted a video on her YouTube of her standing in front of, I think it was in Indiana. I put the link somewhere. But she's at Jessica_Saxton on YouTube. And you'll see she has some like short content. And I was like, Jess, listen, your short content is great. And I appreciate the fast, furious pace in which you move. But people need to hear your longer story. Because right now, it's really easy to get mistaken as like some sort of controversial AI bot, especially with the sort of inflammatory stuff that she is dealing with. And I said, I want people to be able to hear your voice in long form in a way that they can ask you questions. And so we're going to do live streams. So we're going to do them once a week, and you're going to slow down your crusade just long enough to get more people on your train so that we can chug-a-lug all together. Because
I will listen in for sure when we're done here. I'll be doing dishes, but I will be listening in.
Fantastic. Thank you. Anyways, I know Indy has a great forum for things of culturally changing nature, so I'm glad that she popped in here. I'm hoping she shares it out.
Indy never shares anything out. She's not going to do that. Don't tell her I told you the truth, but she never shares anything out.
And actually, I really wanted to get Jess on Indy's show to talk about some stuff and things too, but we just haven't been able to coordinate it just yet. So, and Robbie, I want you to be there too. Robbie, I haven't forgotten about you in the chat down there. I want you to come too. So tell all your friends. Jess is one of my very, very best friends, and she is just fighting so many battles right now that. She needs help.
We'll check it out. We'll see what it's all about. It sounds like fun.
We'll move on. That's enough housekeeping now. Let's talk about some impossibility art.
Impossibility art. I don't have any impossibility art. Nothing is impossible. The word itself says, I'm possible.
Cheesiest but truest thing ever, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. Very cheesy. It's on a few of my things. That's why I think it's hilarious that we're reading a book, The Art of Impossible, and one of my slogans is, nothing is impossible. The word itself says, I'm possible. So, there's some poetic justice there in that for me. So, because it was meant for, to be sarcasm, but now I'm an example of not sarcasm. So,
I know. You've changed.
5 books of stupid.
That's where we left off, wasn't it?
Yes, 5 books of stupid. That's where we left off. And I like the title of that. Is the section called Not So Easy Steps for Learning or something like that? Number 10, I think it is. Look, I'm even starting to know chapter numbers. Oh, fuck.
Oh, yes. Chapter 10, the 5 not so easy steps for learning almost anything.
Yeah. And I tell you what, he's right. The more you learn, the more there is to learn. The more it comes out of there. I know you always share me out into Indy. That's my sarcasm. I am so excited to be where I am because things are beginning to come together in understanding ways. Like, I got to go do the 5 books of stupid on something. I need to actually do that exercise. That's a little bit separate from what we're doing here, but that is something I think I need to do. I'm an avid reader. I start off joyously and then work through it, to the end. I should be able to get myself pretty good into that. Not that I want to interview anybody necessarily, but I think it would be a good skill to have because it would help you to observe.
Right. And I don't think that it's separate from what we're doing. I think it really is like step 1 of the passion recipe.
Yeah. That's
where you
passion recipe is next section.
No, passion recipe. We did the passion recipe way back here before goals. Yeah.
That was yeah. Okay.
So the passion recipe is all about finding the 5 things that or the things that you're curious about, right? Well, to a certain extent, you can't figure out like maybe you can't find those intersections if you don't become an expert on some of the things that you're curious about. And so to me, I feel like the 5 books of stupid is directly related to it's step 1 to figuring out whether or not you've got some intersections. And if you have that list kind of already percolating in the back of your mind, which is why you don't start with the 5 books of stupid, right? But if you have this list percolating in the back of your mind and you're reading the 5 books of stupid on item A, and then you're like, oh, I'm on book 3 or 4, and I'm like, wow, that actually kind of ties. I see where I can intersect that with item B. You see what I mean? So I feel like it's part of the necessary thing. And then, once you kind of find that kind of intersection that you're entertaining, which is kind of like usually a newer sort of way. Yes. It's usually a newer concept. And then you be the idiot, and then you explore the gaps and see how your intersections can maybe close some of those gaps. And then that's always like ask the next question, find the narrative, and talk to other people about it, the skill of skills, because the passion recipe also has that thing about like talk to other people about it, right?
Yeah, you'd ask 5 others, and if they tell you the same thing, then it's probably true.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So like, I think what I love about this book is it's like a step-by-step process that is multifaceted and not lined out as in like step 1, check, step 2, check. It's kind of like a spherical.
Back and forth. Yeah. It's not
a circle.
You go do this, and then you go back and do this, but then you come over here and you do this. So yeah.
And every time you're kind of spiraling. In a good way. It's not spiraling out of control, but spiraling your knowledge and your experience and your exposure to things that you've never. And I would say that's the biggest benefit that I've had from embracing this book from the time it was printed was like the process of exposing myself to things that I probably would have never exposed myself to in my general course of life, or even with further learning on my general sort of interests.
That works.
Because if it wasn't for, like I said, I was already kind of doing the 5 books of stupid, but once I like saw it kind of solidified, I was like, oh, I do this. And it really kind of gave me the confidence to do things like come on here and talk to you guys about what I have going on here. And hold on just a second. I'm gonna stop my camera. Okay, go ahead. My daughter wanted to go outside and she doesn't want to be on camera, so I just had to turn my camera off for a second.
Fair enough.
Listen, not everybody is gregarious as you and I.
Yes, I like the idea of doing that. I like the idea of finding out new things. I'm a natural learner anyway. I enjoy learning. I hated school because school is rote. Rote is not learning. Rote is not learning. That's memorizing stuff.
Yes, it is. It is.
So I know it's an old word. I'm an old guy.
No, I think rote is coming back. I think it's coming back.
And I was, by the time I got to my sophomore, junior-ish year in high school, I was bored as fuck. High school wasn't teaching me anything different than I learned in grade school. It was like, hey, here's your refresher for the last 8 years. Fuck you. And I was out. teach me something new. Teach me how to balance my checkbook. Teach me how to prepare to buy a house. Teach me how to be ready to buy my first car. Teach me how to find a job. Teach me how to interview. Teach me how to meet people. Holy shit. All of these things are more important than knowing basic math, in my opinion.
Teach me to understand and process and communicate my emotions.
Thank you. Another one.
Teach me the art of impossible. Teach me how to do things that I think are impossible.
Yeah. Show me how to do stuff I can't do.
Teach me 7.5 lessons about my brain, please.
That's exactly what school should have been and should be, and I hope it becomes it. I don't think the answer is in, and I'm not a proponent of an anti-new math, but I don't think the answer is in a new way to learn math or a new way to do math. There's plenty of easy ways to learn and do math out there. That one guy's been doing it since the fucking 70s or something. He's forever. The speed reading course, all that stuff is really pretty easy, even for people that are illiterate to start with. Can become proficient very quickly. It's really not hard. But the other skills, we don't get a chance to learn any of those except when we fuck up with another human being and have to feel those consequences, whether we wanted to or not. Now, I'm not talking about whether you want to be an asshole or you are an asshole or you're insensitive or not insensitive. That's not the point. The point is you don't have any idea how to navigate those things until you start doing them as an adult.
Right. And I think that it's just unfortunate that we have to crash and burn before we're motivated to kind of learn these things. And then a lot of people will just keep crashing and burning, and just be like, well, what I'm doing is fine. It's the world that's wrong.
I did not like crashing and burning, and I didn't think I could not crash and burn. I didn't think it was possible for me to have my own space or to balance my budget in such a way that I could. And here I am.
Here you are. Speaking of balancing budgets, New in the chat and you is in the chat, and they'd like to know. I need to know basic math to be here? ? And then Robbie says there will be a test later. And the response is, as long as I don't study, I might pass. Always worked for me in high school. Also, I have to assume it'll work here. Yes, it does. It does work here.
The only thing you need to study here, New, is yourself.
Yeah, it's all about reflection. I think what I really like about the 5 books of stupid as well is that it kind of introduces learning a subject matter in like a finite sort of it gives it parameters, and it gives an outline of like how you can squeeze the most out of your time, but also it it gives this idea of like you're reading each of these books and looking for multifaceted layers. Like the first book to be a fiction book, but you're reading that fiction book as if it has information for you to glean. And I think that is something, I mean, that's something I've kind of always kind of done, not to, that's a weird brag, but like, I don't think a lot of people do that. They read it for the pure entertainment of a fiction book.
That's me. And that's a good description of me.
And I think that when you reread a book or when you read any book that kind of embraces a certain topic matter that has a point to it, then you're looking at these different sort of layers. Like, yeah, you're enjoying the story, but you're also asking yourself questions like, how much of this is like accurate? And oh, I want to know more about the author. What other kinds of books have they written like this? How much do they, maybe there's a podcast interviewing them about their research, process and And it just opens you up to these layers and layers of like all the effort that another human has put into even just a fiction book that could open your mind up to, just understanding, other humans, but also yourself and your own learning process, and also what it is you're trying to learn. So like the main goal in reading these 5 books is become familiar with the terminology, but terminology can be most of the battle. So like if you are interested in criminology, reading a crime book is really useful. Reading a lot of crime books can be useful. You learn that terminology. Reading a crime book from the forensic examiner or the detective. Like, you learn all these sort of different things,
The terms
and
that they
yes,
use within a business and what
yeah, because it's
postmortem
not going to be,
means and what, because not everybody knows what postmortem means. It's not a term that's used very often anymore.
well,
It
I
means to
mean,
be unalive,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, careful, we are on the YouTubes,
Mhm.
right? So I think that that's really, really important, because here's the deal: it wouldn't be a fictional bestseller or a popular fictional book if there wasn't accuracy there.
A fair enough statement, New.
Yep. And also, I agree, but like that to me, that creates a thought experiment. You look into the author and you're like, whoa. um and well, and the idea is to like look into the author as you're already kind of invested in the book. I don't think like using an author to decide what book you want to read
Yeah.
is the point here that I'm trying to
I
make.
find
It's,
myself learning about the author more at the end of the book than at the beginning of the book. I
yeah,
generally
or like
pick
I
up a
said, yeah,
book because it's something I'm interested in reading. It looks like a
mm-hmm.
pleasant thing to see in my mind. And for me, that's an apt description, because when I'm reading a book, I see scenes, movie happens in my head from whatever I'm reading in that book. So it is very, very important that I don't invest too much of my own thought into it, because then I'll start recreating the story. I just
Right.
let the movie
Well,
play by
and
reading
I
the
think,
book.
that it is, when you look into the author and you find that their extracurricular activities are abhorrent, I think that the good question to then is, how does their extracurriculars affect their credibility,
Mm-hmm.
fiction
Yeah.
or not, right?
If they're
Um,
touting facts of ways to live, does their lifestyle reflect what they're showing or what they're saying?
yeah, and who are their influences? And then I
Mm-hmm.
like to see. Also, I like to play the influences game. Like, who influenced this person, and then who influenced the person who influenced this person. Like,
Right.
who are their mentors, and then who are their mentors, because a lot of times, if I disagree with somebody and how they are synthesizing information, if I go back 2 or 3 sort of sources, I realize that, oh, they're synthesizing this information in a way that I totally disagree with, but the information is still good. And this is how I would take this information from 2 mentors back and synthesize it into a way that I feel is more useful. And I think that, and it's kind of like playing that telephone game where you're like, how like on social media people will like just read the title of a news story and then they repost it with indignance without actually getting into it, and then everybody gets all up in arms, and like turns out like 3 people later nobody's read the story, and barely anybody even understands the headline, and
Mm-hmm.
and so I think it's really important. And I guess we're kind of getting further away from that first book, more into like book 4, or book 3, where it's like either the semi-technical book on the topic or the first hard book that you read on the subject. It's
Right.
not nearly as fun as the first 3, but it's the kind of problems that the real experts are in the domain of thinking about. Well, I know a lot of the things that I'm interested in, there are some sort of nebulous concepts surrounding them. And so, like, I mean, it's like how I found Lisa Feldman Barrett. I find her to be very, very credible. And it's because I feel like she's kind of like the source of other things. Whereas a lot of people who talk about emotions are really using like that triune theory, or that, like the lizard mind thing. And I did a lot of work around, looking into like life coaching processes, and how to excel as a human and be a peak performer in all these ways. And like, I want to say I either found Stephen Kotler through her, or it was vice versa, but it was right there at the same time period. And just looking at the work that she had done in order to have like emotion theory to begin with, and then to have like the psychology and the neuroscience that she has supporting that theory makes that theory the most credible one out there to me. I don't remember where was I going with that, Velcro?
I don't know, Keri, because you went through by yourself.
I did. Well, anyways, I'll back up the car. You guys can jump in if you want.
That's all good. I still think that it's a good process to go through, and it's something that I need to do. If for no other reason than to have the experience of having done that. And I loved the part where he says, this was a highlight for me. If you get to the end of the book and you look at your notes, because he encourages you to take notes, your notes shouldn't be notes. They should be questions. You're not making a book report. You're trying to learn about a person or a new subject. So you don't really want to write down the facts because the facts are right there in the book. You got to see them. Facts as the book presents them. What you don't know is the stuff in between. And I really like that.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Should we go through the oh, Robbie wants to know where exactly you look into the author at. And
that's really a personal choice, Robbie. We let people decide their own fate with that.
Right. So, I think if you're going to explore who an author is more, I always start with listen, I love my YouTubes. I would say the Googles, but I love my YouTube because that's where you usually find those long form interviews with people, especially when they're promoting their stuff. And if you can find a good long form interview, then they're going to ask them things like, well, how did you get, who influenced you? How did you get there? You do run into a lot of the sort of formulaic PR interviews where all the questions are the same. But if you dig deep enough, you can find the ones that are super, super really good.
Right. And if you stick with, now I know a lot of people don't like Joe Rogan, and that's fine. You do not need to like Joe Rogan. You can love him. In fact, I don't care. But he tends to ask some pretty poignant questions. He tends to dig a little further than your typical interviewer. And I think that sometimes you need that. You may not like it, like the shock jocks of the 90s and early 2000s when that was the thing. That sometimes you say something just to be inflammatory. Well, sometimes you ask a question just to see where the person is and to see how they react to it. Not because you expect the answer to be some nefarious thing or some groundbreaking information, but because asking the question in a grittier manner elicits a different answer. Depends on what you want.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm sorry, I got distracted because Jess just tried calling me. I did schedule that one for 7:45, right?
Let me take a peek here. 7:45 starts in 36 minutes. Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, you did okay. You did okay.
All right, because she was just calling me. And then she had sent me a thing that said 15 minutes, and I was like, wait a second. Nah.
Maybe she means she'll be ready in 15 minutes.
Right.
Because that would be well before, and you could chat beforehand. And, some people need to be coddled like that. You can't just throw them into Publix.
Oh, not this girl.
Oh,
not
okay,
this
good.
girl. She shows up ready. Everywhere she goes, she shows up ready.
Awesome. That's fantastic.
What is 7? Oh, wait, I'll just do this. She's like, I'm backstage. 35 minutes, ma'am.
Yeah, she's early. She probably was thinking it was starting a little sooner than it was.
Yeah. That's okay.
15 minutes is needed. Not including trapper time.
What did I miss?
Robbie's wait 15 minutes is needed on the crapper, not including plunger time.
Oh,
stop. You have to wait.
Stop it.
Plunger time is an extra 20. I love it.
Listen.
I love it.
I drank a lot of energy drinks today. I won't need a plunger. All right.
Wait, what?
Wait, what? All right. So let's see. We talked a lot about the 5 books of stupid.
Yes.
And step 2 is be the idiot. So when you're done reading those books, your notebook should be filled with questions, as you just said.
Yes.
Let's see. And then that was like the most important thing. Like, these kind of questions are exactly how you make experts feel comfortable and respected. You're letting them know you've taken time to investigate their work in advance. So that's the other thing, is if you're going to approach somebody, having the 5 books of stupid behind you, then you're able to ask informed questions, which I think really does, 'cause, again, nobody likes like the basic bitch question, right? Like, it gets, for me anyways, I get kind of frustrated with sort of those surface level questions. I'm like, oh.
He gives a good example, and I don't know if the Audible book gives the same. It probably is, about asking the question. Instead of asking about the main subjects, you're asking how they got to a portion of the internals of this. What made you start feeling that way back? Not what was the result. And I it's a great example. I just can't remember the quote right now.
Well, but I think that plays into exactly where I was going with that whole mentor of a mentor of a mentor sort of thing. It's like, what did you feel when you found out XYZ information?
Yeah, same
and
kind of
what
concept.
Inspired you
Exactly
to include that in the thing.
Yeah.
So, I think
there's things I have to modify, because I don't plan to, at this point in my life, I don't plan to interview anybody or do anything, because his examples are kind of in his vein, what his life was like, why he did these things.
And you just,
and so I have to reapply them.
I think of it less as like, how can I get in the room with somebody who has more experience on this thing that I'm exploring? And get in the room is, whatever, sing karaoke with somebody that is interested in something like that and spark up conversation, or write an email to a podcaster, like a smaller podcaster, and see if they answer you back. Like, there's so many different ways that you can kind of approach that sort of expert. And I think of experts in like levels. There's like the well-known ones that you can pretty much spout off, and people, like, everybody knows about Elon Musk, right?
Right.
But nobody knows about other people who are interested in alternate, like, electricity thing. Like, nobody knows about the little guy, but I can guarantee there's somebody in your town that's into that shit.
Sure.
Who's put the work in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh. She's like, in 35 minutes, or am I 35 minutes late?
Oh, she's not used to doing the live. Tell her she's fine.
Really? Sorry, I can't type and talk apparently at the same time.
That's okay. You don't have to. You don't have to. This thing that we're doing here, I don't know if you've caught on yet, is really about a self-exploration than it is about anything else. You find things you like, and yes, it was the devils that I was talking about, just to answer your question. And if I like that, I'll probably go back and find the First Law series. That sounds very up my alley. So I will definitely do that. Robbie's throwing the beavers. If you don't know Robbie, go to his channel and check that out. He put his link to his latest song in there. He writes a song or two every day.
Or 3.
Sometimes, yeah. It's and they're definitely, you gotta pay attention to words, because some of them are very, 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 very deep. Good stuff. Check him out. And he has lots of gongs that he plays sometimes.
Right. Okay, so I think and a lot of this too, he's kind of exploring this from a reporter, sort of article writer, perspective, but I think the same can be applied to those who maybe aren't writing as much. Again, it's like, explore the gaps. So like, you can always just ask yourself questions like, where did I had it and then I lost it. Experts tend to disagree on this point, but what do I feel about it, as opposed to, but my own feeling is, and then Like, and again, I think it comes back down to the writing. Even if you're not writing publicly about these things, like just writing these sort of thoughts down are super important, because then you can look at them and reflect back to them. So like your 5 books of stupid and like this process should have its own notebook, you
Right.
know, or like, listen, I get that we're like, I mean, I listen to a lot of audios. I'm on the run. I can't always write the shit down. So I'll have like a notes app where I'll like speak my thoughts into it, and I can go back and listen to it.
Yeah.
Even better, back when Otter was awesome and before they got lame, I used to do an Otter which would transcribe it, and then I can copy and paste it into a document and I can look at it. So I mean, but like re-listening to my own voice too, I've found is pretty impactful. It's just as sticky as like actually writing stuff down too,
Yeah.
provided I can like go back and listen to myself and like read along with myself at the same time. If that makes sense. Find the narrative. So I think too, and it's like, this is a time to take things quote unquote public. And I don't think taking it public is necessarily like launching something on your YouTube or like giving a speech about it. I think it's just like, do you feel comfortable talking to your friends or like maybe somebody you don't know that well, like striking up a conversation with somebody in an appropriate setting? That, you know, like, funny you should say that. I was just thinking about this the other day because I've done some research into this, that, and the other, and then like talking about those things. And to me, that's public. I mean, you could be at a bar, you could be whatever it is. You know how maybe not everybody, but I get into these like really strange conversations with random strangers. You know, and I think
but part of that also, if you apply that, you then have to go a little further into the be the idiot in the room, and you have to approach it. If you're opening up a conversation with somebody who may or may not know more than you, you might not want to do that with an ego about what an expert you are, but finding out what they know first.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's
and that's
and
to
then
me, that's an aspect of taking it public, though, is being able to speak on it just enough to ask a question.
Yeah.
You know, ask the question of like, do you know about this? You know, like, and I've found that there is surprisingly large volume of people who are like, what the fuck are you even talking? What do you do in your spare time? And usually I'm like, well, what do you do in your spare time? Let's talk about that, because if you're just like turning it off and tuning it out, then.
Yes, but talking to yourself is a sign of great intelligence, Robbie. Ask me how I know.
Yeah. And then don't watch my cameras, because
all you ever see on my camera is my feet. So I fall asleep and don't realize I have a live stream going. People sit there and look at my feet not moving for hours and hours.
Let's see, the skill of skills. He talks about Tim Ferriss, and I am a huge Tim Ferriss fan. I find him fascinating. If you get the opportunity to go listen to, I especially like I love his podcast, and his name is escaping me right now because it's not Jason Silva. It's another author who was. Why can't I remember? Doesn't matter. Okay, moving on. But Tim Ferriss, really great long form thing. He talks about how Tim Ferriss is kind of one of these people who just like sets out to learn everything about everything. Tim Ferriss has really great like hacks on how to learn how to speak a language relatively fluently within an hour. You know, because you just like he has like these systems of like the types of words he learns first.
Right.
You know, Tim Ferriss is the one who like won. I don't want to say it was jiu-jitsu, but it could have been kickboxing against like the world champion in Japan or China. Listen, my stupid is showing.
That's
but
okay.
But he's able to win because he just kind of focused in on this one strategy that like the experts in that fighting style like don't do, even though it's like a total like legal legit strategy in that fighting style.
Not the accepted.
It's just not how anybody else does it. And I think it's like, that's a really good reminder that you don't always have to win the game playing it the same way that everybody who's played it for a really long time has played it. And I think that is really important because I think that kind of comes back around to like where we are in learning about the impossible things is like allow the shortcuts to be there too. Like explore your topic just enough to understand, like, listen, I can use this sort of advantage that I have innately, or this advantage that I have innately, or this concept that I have that people who are entrenched in this subject matter aren't really thinking about. You know, it's like experimental music and like these things that you can do that kind of push against the status quo of that, you know, the subject matter experts in that subject. Like, get
Hello, dime
yourself,
bag.
get yourself, find the
Mr.
cracks,
Dare.
find the crevices, find the places in between. And I think that that's really, really important. And so that kind of, let's see. I'm going to end it. We're going to kind of wrap this up with the a discussion about what we're going to go into next. But Tim Ferriss says, look, I wasn't a great learner. I sucked at foreign languages as a kid. I didn't learn to swim till I was 30. And this is exactly why I know this stuff works. If I can do it, anyone can do it. So it's, and that's kind of speaking to, if the skill or information you're learning is at the dead center of your massively transformative purpose, then your real goal has to be total mastery. That requires more learning than Pareto's principle can offer, the 80-20 rule, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That said, consistently focusing your learning on 20% of the information that will make 80% of the difference, and doing this over and over and over again will absolutely shorten the path to mastery. Mm-hmm. Tim has argued that this approach can get you to real expertise in about 1.5 years of dedicated work, about 8.5 years faster than those purported 10,000 hours. And I think we get a lot of the, you know, you got 10,000 hours before you can become an expert on something. It's like, well, but you can shorten that because you can be an expert.
It depends on how intense those hours are spent, how intensely those hours are spent. I know there's people that have nowhere near 10,000 hours on guitar that play quite well.
Well, and I think that, well, that's like an innate skill thing too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where people have like a talent built in, right? But then, in order for those people to become renowned guitarists that are known and paid for by the public is a totally different skill set, right? And so really, I think in order to become a true expert in something, you have to be a little bit of a generalist as far as, you know, like, well, I can play the guitar, but marketing is also a big deal. And also collaboration is a big deal. And also exposure is a big deal. And also point of view is a big deal. Like people, you know, I might be good at playing the guitar, but do I have a voice when I play the guitar? Mm-hmm. Am I able to, like, how do I push that voice out to people? Talent doesn't beat practice, and practice doesn't equal exposure and being known.
Yeah. Yeah, you just said talent doesn't beat practice, though. It can be a leg up, but practice will always outshine. And you're right.
And then I think that learning about the other aspects that come with being a public figure, if you want to be somebody who is known for guitar playing, for example, you can practice and have all the talent in the world in either direction. And if you haven't figured out how to share that with people, I mean, it's awesome if you're doing it for yourself and that's all you want to do. But if you're making like a career out of it and you want to implement change through music and sound.
Yeah, whatever your goal is, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, Ren is a great example. He pushed his stuff out to the world for a really long time and then was just really kind of doing things for the art of it. But he was always constantly exposing himself. And like, you know, he did Twitch streams and he did YouTube and he did all these like Instagram, like he did all the things, right? And he just put up stuff and then gave his point of view. And then as he became more and more known, he's giving more and more, you know, interviews about like who he is as a person, where he came from. You know, he shared a lot about his health story that had nothing to do with really music. Like it's just like he had all these kind of multifaceted things kind of out there. You know, and people started to kind of put it together. This is somebody who's been through a lot. This is somebody I can relate through. This is somebody who has a story to tell. This is somebody who is telling all of our stories in sort of a human condition sort of way. You know, and again, it is kind of genius that he was so involved with the sound engineering, which he had to learn, with the audio, with the visual. Like, sure, he had a friend running the camera that he would work with, but he had like this concept of how he wanted things to look, and how, you know, the one shots, and like really played around with this sort of, how do I tell my story of music, not just how do I make music. And I think that can be applied to everything. How do I tell my story of what I've learned? How do I tell my story? How do I share this with people? Again, that comes back to being.
Oh, Auntie, good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, and you have to learn. And my point, though it be dull by this point, is that to shorten the path to mastery. Learning the thing is important, but learning the things that allow you to share the thing shortens that path of 10,000 hours.
And using other people's and he built on this with the ROI on reading.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be just reading. It's time spent. You can replace reading with time spent doing X. It doesn't matter what you're talking about, but it's that spent time from someone else gives you a huge jump start towards going to this. Taking guitar lessons helps you become a better player faster if you don't know any of the things to do that. The teacher will show you those things, and that's the point of that. It's kind of to keep it in there. And
again, watching other people play.
Okay, put your letter in then, Robbie. Don't do X.
Then B. Make it a B or an R.
It could be a B or an R. You got 25 other choices. Put your own letter in. And then also I think like, well, all right, so I've been spending all this time learning from a teacher, you know, practicing myself, watching other people, interpreting other people's work, playing around with it myself. Now, how do I see like where I stand? You know, because in a lot of ways, when you learn something, again, being public again. So you're like, okay, well, I want to go public with what I've learned in some way. So what do? Well, I can either play like live gigs, which then you have to make sure you learn about how to, like, strumming in your house is a lot different than plugging in and playing in a cafe, or learn about a camera, you know. And a lot of times, like, I have found you can't really shortcut some of those things when it comes to your sound or your visuals, or like how to go out and get a gig at a cafe, or how to get people in your chat of a, you know, video online, or how to, like, you really end up learning these other things. And I think all that does is, like, you can then take those things that you learn and you can apply it to other things. You're like, well, guitarist today, but, you know, a human rights activist tomorrow, and learning about your sound and your video and your how to promote yourself, and all of these things also help with that. So I think that, again, the idea is not only to learn the thing, but to find those intersections and then learn all the things that surround that thing. And that's really how you fortify all the things that you're doing and move your entire self towards that massively transformative purpose, whatever that may be. And right.
I
think the answer, the focus, the end game for all of us could and probably is different. Mine is simply independent living right now. That's my focus. But when I'm done with that, then what do I want to focus on then? Because I don't want to just sit back and then wait for the next big thing to come along. That's not, I'd rather be already moving. I spent a lot of time waiting, and years, in fact, and now I no longer want to wait. But that's a product of what's happened to me over the last 6-7 months, not any lifelong goal. I just presumed that since I was who I am and I make the money I make because I'm disabled, that there wasn't another way for me to be able to do that. And it wasn't.
There were no goals really to be had.
Yeah. And
once I set that goal, mind.
Yeah, and once I set that goal, then it was dominoes, because then I kept looking for, well, I want to keep this going. I want to do more. I want to, so yeah.
Well, and Robbie says maybe after a long time you just do it and don't have to think about it.
Absolutely truth. He mentions that.
Well, and I think that also comes back to we rise to the level of our training, or we don't rise to the occasion, we sink to the level of our training. Yep. And so to me, just doing it is like, sometimes you have to start by training your mind, and then you train your body to do the thing. So like, again, like, I know that you can't train how to be a guitar by reading a book about guitars. Like, you have to actually play the dang thing, right? But also, sometimes you're kind of priming your brain with like, but should I even bother?
Yeah.
And I find the 5 books of stupid is like this concept to kind of get you to the point where you're like, yes, I should bother. And then you pick up the thing and do the stuff.
Exactly. It's a step to learning more about yourself, honing in on your goals, and doing what he's talked about. Like I said, my thing is, he's a writer, clearly. And so a lot of his examples come from his writing experience. So I have to take that ball that he gave me, and I have to go, okay, now I'm not writing a book. I'm just trying to pay bills. How does that
apply?
How does it apply? And that's a good one. We are 56 minutes in.
I know the countdown's on. So I think what we're gonna do, let's go all the way up through part 3, creativity, next week.
Okay.
Which I love the quote on creativity. Do you remember that quote?
No, I don't actually.
Part 3, creativity, starts with a quote by Salvador Dali. I don't do drugs. I am drugs.
I am drugs. Yes. I remembered it was good. Yes. And
thank you, Indy, for coming by. I hope to see you on the next stream.
Knew it was great to see you out there, Darren, Robbie, Indy,
so many
Auntie.
people today.
Yeah, it was great, and thank you everyone for your participation and conversation. That's part of what we're here for.
And thanks for hanging in there for my tangents. I had quite a few today. That's all
right. We all have tangents, and sometimes we have testicle difficulties. All right. See you later, New. Thank you very much.
And stuff.
Hope you decide to come back. We didn't scare you off too much.
You know what? Yeah, just a minute while I find the outro video, because.
Okay. She hasn't.
I usually have that pulled.
She usually has that pulled, but now
I usually have that pulled up.
This is why we're not experts on this, and you should not take what we give you as advice, but merely guidelines of how you may or may not want to live your life.
Right. Just a minute. Whoa, now I'm like totally choking. Like, where is it? Is it too far? Oh, there it is. Okay.
There's the outro. All right. There's the outro.
Holy cow.
Yeehaw.
Streaming is dynamic.
You're taking all my advice. I don't know if I would advise that, Jessica. But thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
Bye-bye, everyone. See you next week.
Take the advice. Also take the grain of salt that comes with it. Oh, there's Jess. She's here. Okay, so in 15 minutes, I'm going to jump off here, and I'm going to go over, and I'm going to start a new stream. And it's going to be with Jess. And so, thank you, guys.
And let it fall. Turn the volume down low, my friends. This chatter's come to an end. Till we gather again and again. Let these moments extend. In the quiet, hear the clock tick tock. Words won't stop, but we'll walk the walk. Dream a little till the next talk. Out of time, let's unlock. Turn the volume down low, my friends. This chatter's come to an end. Till we gather again and again. Let these moments extend. In the quiet, hear the clock tick tock. Words won't stop, but we'll walk the walk. Dream a little till the next talk. Out of time, let's unlock. Turn the volume down low, my friends. This chatter's come to an end, till we gather again and again. Let these moments extend. We signed in with open minds. Now we drift on the book of fine, page by page, until we bind sweet goodbyes.